it's called geometrical psychology. Okay, the science of representation, an abstract of the theories and diagrams of B.W. Betts. Okay, the book is by Louisa Cook, and it was published in 1887. That's more than a century ago. Okay, 1887 is a very long time. Okay, but again, here, for example, in section 3, book is addressing the concept of the great duality, evolution through polarity, etc. Then there is also a section on polar opposite forms and the mean form of sense consciousness. So I haven't read that. I haven't read this book to a large extent, but again, you can see that George Adams, then B.W. Betts, then Lawrence Edwards later on, you know, and even the works of Schauberger, again, Victor Schauberger, they are speaking of this concept of polar-based relations of forces, okay, and how they express themselves not just in nature, but in consciousness, as for example in this section here, pole opposite forms and the mean form of sense consciousness. So, okay, sometimes you feel joy, sometimes you feel you feel pissed off. So it can also be seen from that perspective. So you are dealing with a very big idea, not just geometrically, but from different perspectives. Okay? Because in geometry, projective geometry, you start to deal with the concept of the point and the plane, the point at infinity and the plane as infinity as polar opposites to each other, and then these lead to the manifestation of form, which then becomes a rigid representation in Euclidean geometry. Okay, so it's interesting because back in 2019, 2020, when I had discovered vortex-based mathematics, at that time I realized that one of the things that is given heed to is the idea of reciprocals. Okay, reciprocals are important in mathematics, in vortex-based mathematics, because they allow you to express the polar aspects of numbers. Okay, because vortex-based mathematics deals heavily with numbers. Okay, so it was an interesting math to learn back then from the tutorials of Marco Rodin and Randy Powell. Okay, I still see Randy posting some stuff on Instagram, so I casually check him out, because he doesn't post every other day, but once in a while. He's a busy man. Okay, but this idea of reciprocals, I see. Okay, I think it leads to the the concept of phase conjugation. Okay, Dan Winter fractal field he speaks about this idea of perfected. It's not an idea, like an idea. It's science basically. Okay, the concept of perfected phase conjugation. Okay, not just in consciousness, but also in the manifestation of forms, okay? Fractals everywhere, okay? The inside, when the inside looks like the outside, okay? He speaks a lot of the principle of sharing, okay? One of his famous quotes is, get fractal or get dead. So that's fun. It's funny and straight to the point. Get fractal or get dead. Okay, so anyway, again, you see that all these works here, you know, they are pointing to the same kind of concept from different lenses. That is why recently when I took another look into the famous Hermetic principles, you know, the Kabbalion writes that the Hermetic principles are seven. Okay, the great principles are seven in number. Okay, you know, the principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, rhythm, vibration, you know, gender. All those seven, you know, the principle of polarity, cause and effect. Okay. From this lens, you know, that I have gained by looking, by studying these books, okay, and trying to contemplate on the Hermetic principles. For me, the way I see it is that, you know, the Hermetic principles are not actually seven in number, okay? They all reduce to one principle. Then the principle is expressed from different perspectives, okay? For example, you know, the principle of mentalism, where the Kabbalion says, you know, you polarize yourself, okay, on one end, then by polarizing yourself, you avoid you avoid the side that you don't want to be, you know, the swinging of the pendulum to move you to the unfavorable side. So you polarize yourself on the other side using the higher laws against the lower. Again, from this perspective, you realize that it's basically the principle of polarity here from the concept of consciousness. Okay. Then when you know, the principle of correspondence, you know, it's polarity viewed from you know, from the concept of, you know, scaling. Okay, correspondence in, you know, reciprocals and inverses, and okay, they have to correspond. Okay, because these two principles, even though they are, you know, they are two, okay, they have to complement each other and form unity. Because remember, in living energies, the formula n times 1 over n is equals to unity, okay, or whole. So it becomes a representation of the whole systems through the reciprocals or the inverses, if you can view it that way. So it's a big topic. I'm just on the surface. I haven't gone deep, and you can see where this leads to, you know, from the standpoint of projective geometry, because now you begin to sense that you, at some point, you'll be encountering fractals and and interferometry at some point. You know, conjugation, phase conjugation. Okay, because I'm excited about this stuff, because I study circuit theory and stuff to do with impedance, you know, resistance and amplification, feedback stuff. So viewing it from that perspective, you know, you begin to have an idea, okay, of why things work the way they do, and it's exciting, okay. So as I was saying, Okay, the idea that the Hermetic principles are in 7, that's okay, but for me, the way I see it after doing all these reading, okay, and as you see, these authors are separated by years apart. Okay, it's not like they all met in some place and decided to write about the same thing. Okay, they are all writing from their own perspectives. Okay, and from studying them, you realize they are all essentially trying to express the same concept from different perspectives. And that's the most exciting thing, because when you realize that these different authors are converging on the same concept, then you begin your journey into trying to understand the concept itself. Okay, so as I was saying, this the principles for me, I don't see them as 7, I see them as 1. Okay, and this 1, okay, it's the principle of polarity. Okay, and then from there, polarity can be expressed in different perspectives, whether from a vibrational standpoint, from a correspondence standpoint, from a cause and effect standpoint, okay, from a gender standpoint, from okay, the mentalism standpoint, which is consciousness. So there's a lot of studying that I need to do because I haven't finished the Vortex of Life by Lawrence Edwards. I also haven't finished the geometrical psychology based on the works of B.W. Betts. Okay, there are sections in the Golden Blade journal that used to be published from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, back in the day, with sections from different contributing authors. Okay, and there are sections where George Adams is writing. There are sections where Lawrence Edwards is writing later on in the 80s, 90s there. So those are sections that I also aim to study to complement all these other works. So it's not going to be challenging, but it's going to be an exciting journey to try and make sense of all these ideas. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. So I think I've done enough talking for today. It's been like yeah. I usually don't talk this much, unless I'm talking about something that is exciting for me. As you can see, I've been talking with excitement the whole of this conversation. So after this, I think I'm going to take a break for the next 1, 2, 3 hours. I may upload something tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow. So you will just have to watch out. So subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think, okay, about what I just said. Okay, so whatever I did not articulate correctly, you can correct me down in the comments. Okay, but it's different people have different perspectives, of course. Okay, and that's fine. Okay, so let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks again. Subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.